I don't know. That's okay. I get an extra hour of sleep.
Yeah, well, if you can turn back time, you could find a way. All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Welcome to Karate Without Belts. I'm always John.
And I'm Jeremy.
Welcome back, Jeremy. Jeremy was off having a secret mission at a lake. We will not disclose the details of this mission, but it's safe to say everything went all right.
Yeah, I, w- I wouldn't say I've mastered the ability of driving large U-Haul trucks down very windy lake roads and down very hilly driveways, but I will say I'm I'm a lot better now. So there are a few teeth 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 grinding moments, but other than that, yeah, it was all good. So
That's all good. Yeah, does the Midwest do much in terms of like? I know pickup trucks have always been a big thing, but have you guys ever had K trucks?
K trucks.
So K trucks are kind of, if you think of like a compact U-Haul truck, not like a U-Haul truck, but like a
Oh,
pickup truck. Think of like a pickup truck, but just half the size.
oh,
And that's what we got around here.
oh, yeah, no, 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 no. It's basically no. It was basically a moving van, but that's okay. So
Cool, cool. Yeah, I've unfortunately sustained an injury yesterday. Thankfully, the doctor just said, "Don't do, don't run." And after about 3.5 months of doing nothing but running, pretty much every week, I'm just like, what do I do? What should I do to fill this time? I came up to the idea of like maybe I should just be silent for an hour. That's boring. Let's go try let's go do something else.
exactly.
Um, so it gives absolutely no pleasure to say this. About 72 hours ago from the recording of this podcast, Shuri Joe, and I'm sure as everyone knows by now, um, caught fire early morning Japanese time on October 31st, and unfortunately, most of the main interior buildings of Shurijo or in Shuri Castle have more or less been destroyed, and it is a very sad moment, not just for people who do karate, but people in Okinawa. Um, the Shurijo was going historically back. That was the seat of power of the Ryukyu Kingdom, and for a long time was the center of a lot of culture. A lot of people believe that's where the Chinese martial arts and the Okinawan martial arts kind of met and had the baby of what is karate today. Um, that area is also has a lot of historic value in the during World War II. Unfortunately, the original structure was destroyed, so the kind of old black and white photo that people see of people practicing the Shurijo that we would have known today was not that. It was actually rebuilt. In between the war and it being rebuilt in the early '90s, it was actually used as a campus, college campus. But the park was repurposed. They moved the campus and they decided to rebuild Shurijo. Up until today, that's where it was standing. So today we're going to be a little more somber. We will not really get into our serious topics of chasing wildlife with Kobudo. And we're going to talk about our experiences in Okinawa. Um, and we'll kind of talk about, when we first went to Shurijo and different things that affected us and our training and our memories of that. This is in no way an in memoriam. this is just a way for people to keep Shurijo in our memories, and we know people will eventually rebuild it, but in the incarnation a lot of people knew, now it is gone. So I guess, Jeremy, what was your first experience going to Okinawa and then going and seeing Shurijo?
Well, I, I kind of I remember the very first. I mean, there are a couple things I remember, but um, probably the first time I went to Sherry Joe was it, it was it was really really busy, and for some reason they were doing some flower festival or something around the grounds and stuff, and so people were not just there for the cast, to look at all the historical remnants of the castle, but also look at all these different artworks of, you flower arrangements and all this kind of stuff. So it was interesting, and some some of our group, we ended up finding out what day was like the lightest traveled at the castle. And so after we were there, I was like, this is really cool, but we really want to have just kind of our own time there. And um, I remember we got up real early that morning, did our little routine and stuff, and headed up to the castle. We were like the very first ones on the grounds that
Oh,
day. And there was hardly anybody there for about 30 to 45 minutes. And so it was kind of like we had the place almost to ourselves. I mean, almost the whole grounds. I was every once in a while you'd see one person, but it was. I think that probably meant more to me than the very first time I went, because it was so busy you just couldn't take anything in.
right.
And
What time of
and
year was it?
what's that?
What time of year was it?
It was like first part of February. It was right after. It was like right after the Chinese New Year. As a
Okay.
matter of fact,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, I think that's what it was. Is if it was right after that. I mean, like a day or two after that, or something. I mean, it was right after that, because it was like a day or two before we were to leave. It wasn't our last day. It was like a day or two before we were getting ready to leave to come back to the States and stuff. But I mean, we had a blast. I mean, it was like, I mean, we got to get up close to things and really take in the detail of it, and really appreciate it a lot more than just, okay, I'm just a tourist. Okay, yep, yep, yep. Okay, check this off. Check, 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 check. Okay, we went and saw this part and this part and this part, but we really got to experience it that way. So
Cool. Cool. Did you guys end up doing a lot of people? I always felt weird about this. Sometimes I think it's appropriate. Sometimes I don't think it's appropriate. But did you guys end up doing like karate there, or were you guys just
no,
no?
no, 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 no. We did not do anything like that. But it was so empty that I, part of me is like, maybe we shouldn't have done this, but in a way, it was kind of cool. But all 4 to 6 of us. I can't remember how. I remember there was 4 of us. I can't remember if there were 6 of us. But each one of us, we went up to the very front of the middle of the Shuri Joe Castle, and there was nobody around.
Hmm.
And so we got a picture of like each of us like right in the center with nothing else there, which was kind of odd, you know. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's that is generally rare.
yeah,
Not always, but that's just. But if you're like, especially get there like super early in the morning, good chances are you won't really have that problem. But yeah,
yeah,
that it is highly frequented. But it is very cool that they I say this in present tense because most people are still there. They have people who work on the grounds basically as guards every day,
yeah,
um, and people who work in and around there to keep the place up, keep it nice and nice looking and stuff like that. It is one of the nicest, if not the nicest, parks in Okinawa, at least in my experience. So some of the other castles and stuff around, I think it bears commenting that Shurijo is the only castle that really ever got rebuilt.
yeah. I know there are other ones that are have always been in the process of being rebuilt, but just been a very slow process. But
Well, it's also that like they don't. Oh, Shurijo has a very always has had that very iconic look.
yeah,
Has always had that very iconic feel to
yeah,
Okinawa. And unfortunately, things like Katsura and Nagagusuku didn't always have that, but they had, unlike the cat. I don't want to say unlike Shurijo, they always had that kind of castle feeling as you're kind of going through different parts of it. But I
yeah,
didn't realize until we were just looking at a map. It's just like, yeah, that the park is essentially it is built like a castle.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It is definitely breathtaking when you go in there. It really, I mean, especially the first time you see it,
Yeah,
especially like, especially like, I think one of the things that really took my breath away was somehow I don't even know how we did it. I was following Gary Show actually, and we were going towards just kind of the walls of it and stuff on one side, and it just looked like the walls went forever. I mean, just like holy catfish. And I mean, it just, and when I mean it went forever, it was like it went forever, but it just kept getting taller and taller and taller. It was like, good night. So, I
yeah,
mean, it was just very, very wow. You know, I mean, there were several wow moments there, but yeah,
yeah. Depending on where you're coming from, it can feel like a very long walk up like a very steep hill. Um,
yeah,
but the I always felt like when I walked in there, like I was going to trip on trip on a rock. Um,
oh,
I remember because when I moved to Japan the first time, um, going there with a mutual friend of ours who was stationed there, and it was a very surreal feeling to go in there, to have seen this in photos and to have seen this in pictures and to have heard about it, and then suddenly you're there,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that's where you're told everything's from and where everything kind of comes from, right? A lot of people said that, I mean, literally, they use that as Shuri Castle, Shuri Te.
yeah,
That's where that martial art comes from. Um, but I remember the first time I was pretty blown away, but it was also like you can kind you. I think this is the same with anywhere else. You can go through it quickly,
yeah,
but you don't really absorb it in the same way. Um, but I remember that the one year I was there was a couple of years I was there for New Year's. But the one year I was there, I was just seeing how much dedication they put into making sure the preservation of their history was intact. So the New Year's ceremonies, they made a whole deal of it for like an entire week
Hmm.
where you could, I mean, there's tons of events, generally cheap, like not for free, and just the amount of detail they put into that was just astounding to me. Um, I don't. The only karate memory I have there is actually it's also the same day I got engaged to my wife. Because it was I knew I was leaving Japan for a while. I didn't know when I was going to come back, and so I was there with her and our daughter, and I'm like, I got to do this one time before I leave, and so I get up in front of Sherry Joe and do a kata, and she took. I didn't know she was taking a video of me, and so she took this video, and like 3 years later, this appeared on Facebook. I'm like, when did you do this? So, and I just had like it just it. The funny thing was, my daughter's just like, "What's he doing? What's he doing? He's doing karate. Why is he doing karate? Because we're in Shuri. What does that have to do with anything?" So I got a bunch of different things in on that day alone. Um, Embarrassing my daughter, I guess, was probably one of them.
It's just being a good dad. That's all it is.
I
So,
guess I don't. You never know. Especially when they get older.
yep,
At the tender tweenage years.
yep. Mm, yeah, I'm starting to go through that. So, but yeah, I mean that's probably one of the better memories of Shuri Joe that I have, and it was really cool. I mean, it was just you being able to go there when nobody else was there and just really experience it instead of yeah, I hit the tourist trap and hey, I've checked it off my to-do list. It's like, no, no, no. I wanted to spend some time there and really, really, really see it and experience it. So, but yeah.
Well, it's a very nice area. It's a very like kind of deep. He's Naha is built in such a way where you can kind of get confused on where things are or where they're supposed to be. Um, there's a it's like the park Motobu used to train in. It's still there, but it's also like super innocuous.
Mhm.
So it's like yeah, or not Motobu Miyagi used to train in.
Uh,
Yeah, so it you can just walk through there and there's just like kind of dudes hanging out in the park, and there's a little sign that says Miyagi trained here,
hmm.
but other than that, no, wasn't super well, it wasn't super obvious, and so that's kind of the way Naha is. Like you can like start trip over something and be like, oh, this is something super important, but it'll completely pass you by.
Hmm. Interesting. So, but yeah, I mean, there are several interesting stories that happened. On the first time we went up there, it was um, one of one of the things was we all got together for group photos with Mr. Oyata in front of in front of the entryway and everything. And then then we broke the photographs down into different people from different locations, wherever they came from and all that kind of stuff. And that was kind of an interesting memory because I remember him saying that you don't get it. This is important. Even to this day, it's kind of like, yeah. I mean, I see the fact that it was important to tie that that I guess that moment in time with history, with Mr. Oyata, and with us, and that part was cool. But the other thing I remember is there was a lot of people getting very upset with us because we were taking a lot of time in the out on the entryway doing all these pictures and stuff. And it was, Mr. Ray, I was like, oh, don't worry, we'll take a picture. It was, it was, it was just interesting. But I mean,
Well, because it's moments like this that make you think like you can't go back and do it again,
right,
right?
right,
Like
and
I
and looking at it from this, from what's just happened, yeah, I think that's kind of what he was trying to get us to understand, and a lot of us, we were like, okay, we don't want to make all these people upset, but on the same token, he was wanting to make sure we understood the gravity of what was going on. So,
well, and I think for him too, and I think for lots of the Okinawan masters, lots of people who are from Okinawa and who do karate. Um, though Shuri isn't necessarily specifically always tied to karate, there is your father's uncle's brother's cousin kind of with it, where it always kind of karate will always kind of feed back into it goes back in the history of that a lot of people who didn't learn karate were the soldiers or were the guards of the king, and that did come from Shuri,
right,
which is centered around Naha, which has a
right.
little port called Tomari.
Mhm.
So it all kind of filters out from there. So for even in the most abstract of ways, um, so that's the ooh, that's why I think. But I always feel weird when people put on their gis there, but
Yeah,
at the same time, like it's a karate day. That makes sense. But if it's just like, yeah, I'm always of two minds about it. Where it's like, yeah, this would be great to put your karate gi on in front of there. How much of a tourist do you feel like? But it's so iconic to that. I'm always a little conflicted about it, but I can definitely see why people do it, and I don't have a problem with them.
oh yeah, no, I totally get that. Yeah, for me, I don't know. I never, for me personally, I never really wanted to do that. I just do to me, it was more of a respect thing because who am other than me just being there and seeing it, witnessing it, and experiencing it, what am I taking away from the people who actually lived it by just coming in one day? It was like, you got your gear, your Hakamon, or I that's kind of how I always looked at it for me. Now, you're right. I can see, yeah, you wouldn't have any other chance to be able to probably do that ever again to come in and do that. And yeah, I get it, but for me, I just wouldn't. I'd feel like I'd be taking away from the people that built it over the last 500 years and built it what it was and what it is. So
Rebuilt it, and
yeah,
like I definitely think there is merit in the because you look back at that old photo, like it's people in school uniforms. They're in school gym clothes. They're not really in karate gis.
right,
Uh, that's some incorrect in that, but uh, the it has that resonance with all of us as something historical, because I can't think of anything else that really matches to karate from a kind of image perspective other than Shuri Joe, right? There is no like other place that has that same feeling, because a lot of the old dojos are kind of gone.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I
Or
mean,
repurposed or whatever.
yeah, and you what's left is just being able to try to somewhat recreate that,
Yeah.
from a historical perspective, or to move forward, whatever seems to be right at the time. So
Yeah, and I think we kind of came into this episode thinking just more like sharing our thoughts and experiences with Okinawa, and what's interesting is that Okinawa is it's gone through a lot, we're really not in a position to really start talking about all the things around that, and don't necessarily want to get into that.
right,
Um, but Okinawa is a very unique place, um, in its origins, in its history with other countries, for better and for worse. And so this is kind of, I always think it's just like one more tragedy on top of everything else. But it's also a great symbol of Okinawa's ability to adapt and continue to prosper.
yeah, and I can definitely see that. I mean, from when I went, I think one of the things that I learned a lot about the culture was when we went to what was it what was it called, Peace City or
Yeah,
Peace Park, something, the World War
the
II.
one with all the names.
Yeah, the World War II memorial. Yeah, the large World War II memorial. And it wasn't so much, all the names, but when you walk up the hill and you see every village has a memorial dedicated to everybody, it seemed to me that the Okinawa, just the Okinawan culture, basically has a culture of being able to come together. And I think, and where I'm going with this is, yeah, it's definitely sad to see this happen, but I also know just the overall culture from what I saw and what I experienced when I was in Okinawa. It's like it seems to always kind of come together.
Yeah, um, they're they're because they didn't really know their choice. It's kind of the island life is the one thing people who've never really lived there, maybe been there but never really lived there, is understanding. You know, if you're living on an island, even if it's Okinawa is fairly big, and I've lived on some of the smaller islands around there. You can't really hold a grudge.
Yeah,
You can't, like some people can, I guess, but you can't. You have to work together with people because you're living in the same community. Um, I learned this being a teacher because if I start yelling at somebody or somebody starts making me mad or something like that, which never really happened, but either in my profession or outside of it, it's always somebody's kid or always somebody's parent,
mhm,
and that definitely does make you realize the kind of the world you live in, which you don't always get in that case. I think feel very uh, fortunate to have that. experience. Um, but they've always bounced back, and I mean, one of the hardest things is, especially people who are in Okinawa right now, is to uh, I forget who put this up there, but is to actually go to Shuri and to go to the other places around there, because with Shuri Gujo essentially gone at this point, all those businesses that benefited from just being in proximity to Shuri Joe and have people go there and eat and do business and whatnot are going to suffer.
Yeah.
So, um, if you can go to Shuri, go to Shuri, because there's plenty around there. Um, the the cool thing about modern Okinawa, I don't was this when were you there when the monorail was open?
Yes.
Okay, so um, you can the cool thing about Naha is that the monorail goes right from the airport right to Shurijo.
Yeah.
Literally, get off the plane and jump on it and jump on the monorail and just go right there. Literally, make that the first thing you do.
Yeah. No, it is interesting. You bring back one other memory is that there was a pretty good group of us. I don't think all of us went, but it was a pretty good group of us. And there was another day, and I forgot what Mr. Lowe called it, but all of us took the monorail up to Shurijo and got off of it. We didn't go in the castle. We went there, went to the front gate, and then we walked all the way back to where we were staying at. And I mean, there were several places that we got to experience, which was really cool. And for all my friends that I went with that year, I mean, we stopped into Aomori Con, which that was kind of cool. And it was it was it was really
What's
cool.
Alamori for people who are not in the know, Jeremy?
Uh, it, it is the great drink of Okinawa. I mean, I don't know. It's like,
Next to Orion beer.
yeah, next door. I don't know about that. I mean,
Hey, 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 hey.
hey, it's kind of like a quarter. You got heads one way, tails the other. You can't really lose either way. So, um,
That's okay. Good. All right. Good comeback. Good
uh,
response.
and Aomori is really great with pineapple juice. I'll say that much. But anyway, we won't get into that. Um, but no, I mean, it was really kind of cool. And we went down to like the Shrado world headquarters and walked around through there and
You got to see
walked.
the old one, not the new one.
Huh?
So that was in the big blue building, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Big blue building. They moved across the street.
Yeah. Oh,
They
well.
they moved across the street like this year. They went from a big blue building to a big white building. So
Well, hey, you got to do what you got to do. But I mean, we really got to, from that walk, I mean, we got to experience just a lot of different things. I mean, other than
yeah,
just a lot of sore feet. But it was good. It was a lot of fun. But I mean, it was um, yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, you got to meet a lot of different people, and it was great. So that was one of the other memories that I got. That I mean, we just had a lot of fun. So I mean, on that, I mean, it was literally a whole day trip walking back from it. So it was good.
that's actually probably one of the best ideas. One of the best things he could have told you to do, because that helps you explore. Because that you could walk around that city for weeks and still kind of get into the like really cool little nooks and crannies of it. Right, actually up the street from from the Schrader shop. Um,
Hmm.
did you guys go to the museum, the national? I don't know. Was the national? I don't know if the national museum was there. There's a national. There's a prefectural Art and History Museum. It's right up from there. So because it's right from where you go from Kokusai Dori on
Yeah.
kind of across the street, then you're at Shureido.
Right. Yeah.
But then you kind of keep walking up the street and kind of climb up a hill. And probably this wasn't there when you guys went, but now there's a big old like movie theater and like shopping mall. And
Yeah.
next to that is the prefectural museum of like art, culture, and I think it's history. I think it's history, art, and culture. Um, and behind there is a big old park.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
remember,
Yeah. No, I mean that wasn't there at that time. Mm-mm.
but you go up there where the same street that Shredo's on now is the street where my where a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, James. He's a owner of the Dojo Bar and the Asato Dojo, which are literally across the street from each other. Um, and so kind of going, I know that as the landmark, as well as Shureido. But going up from there, going up to that park, I was driving around with my girlfriend at the time, and I was trying to find a good place to, we went to that mall, and this is more sentimental than it is about karate, but we went to Sherry Joe that day. We went all over that place. And behind that museum, I proposed to her.
Yeah.
And it's just this little innocuous park. We put our daughter in. She was like 7, 8 at the time. He's like, go play on the swing. I came back and just said, we're engaged. She just kind of looked up at us. He's like, are we gonna go see a movie now? And you're
Yeah.
like, yes. So and kind of started that tradition of we said something very serious to her, and then she just kind of deflects and is like, what are we gonna do with this other thing?
Yeah.
Kids.
Oh yeah.
Enough of that sentimental memory. Yeah. So kind of because this episode might end up being a little shorter than our normal ones, but so I guess kind of maybe put a button on this. What people can do to help, because I noticed there's a lot of people started like GoFundMe pages and stuff like that. We're in connection with our kind of brother podcast, Okinawan Karate Podcast, with Josh Simmers. Kind of met through. He was our first comment on our first podcast, and I've had a lot of good conversations with him and James of the Karate Dojo. James of the Dojo Bar, and we're going to kind of work together to get a GoFundMe page started and try to push international karateka to do that. If you feel like putting money out before we do that, there's a Hawaii Okinawan nonprofit that has a GoFundMe page started, and that is legit. My biggest warning to people is check your sources, because this tragedy brings opportunity for scammers. And right now, the Japanese government has not opened up the given any sort of direction on where funds can be donated to. So everyone who has a very good heart about this, we encourage you, please donate whatever you can to help restore Shuri Joe and help the folk around Shuri Joe. They need help and support now more than ever. But please check what you're doing, and please double check, before you open up your wallets. Please do that, but please do that, responsibly, and use your head about where that goes. And we just hope we can get the karate community behind this. I don't think that's hard, but yeah, every little dollar will help with that. But just be careful about who you give your money to. Cool. That's about all I've got to say on that. Jeremy, you got anything else you want to kind of add to close that out?
I don't want to add anything to take away from that. So, good.
Cool. So we don't want and always end on a somber note. Jeremy, what are you up to in terms of training this next week?
Right now, once again, rehabilitating my knee. Probably just probably going to work on size some this week, and that's probably the main thing I'm going to be working on. So
Cool. I can on that rehabilitation train with you, my friend. Even though I'm on like just hanging on to the caboose a little. You've got like a nice little car all to yourself with all the nice trims and fixings.
yeah,
If we can keep the train analogy alive, but yeah, I'm just gonna do everything that's not running that I can, and hopefully get my leg back up to where it should be, and kind of go from there. But yeah, so I think that's about where we can a nice place we can end off. Thanks, folks. Thanks for listening today. That was a little bit of a short one, so possibly mercifully short for some of you. But please keep Shuri Joe in mind. Please watch out. We're gonna have a fundraiser page ready when we know where the money can go. And yeah, just remember to keep on training.